Zaid Jilani of The Intercept wrote a great article explaining how the hysteria and backlash over the Israel condemnation at the UN is just utter nonsense. So here's what he says. Barack Obama was far less harsh on Israel's government than recent Republican presidents, including conservative icon Ronald Reagan. From UN protection to economic and military support, these Republican presidents were far more willing to use American leverage to force a change to Israel's behavior than Obama was. Throughout his entire term, this is the only resolution critical of Israel that the Obama administration allowed to pass at the Security Council. The last Republican president, George W. Bush, allowed 6 similar resolutions to pass. 6. This included, for example, a 2004 resolution calling on Israel to stop demolishing the homes of Palestinian civilians. Israel recently revived this internationally condemned practice, but under Obama, it has not received a Security Council rebuke. He continues here. George H.W. Bush allowed through 9 resolutions critical of Israel. Unlike with Obama, the elder Bush not only allowed some of these resolutions to pass, but he also supported them. The U.S. just abstained under Obama. For example, Security Council Resolution 681, passed in 1990, criticized Israel for engaging in deportations of Palestinian civilians from the occupied territories and called on the Israeli government to respect international law. During the Reagan administration, 21 Security Council resolutions critical of Israeli government actions passed. This includes Resolution 573, which condemned an Israeli attack in Tunisia. Republican administrations actively sought to use aid as leverage to force Israel to make concessions for peace. For example, President George H.W. Bush demanded that Israel freeze expansion of settlements in exchange for a $10 billion loan guarantee to help resettle Soviet Jews in the country. Bush did not release this guarantee until Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin agreed to the settlement freeze in July 1992. The Obama administration never utilized such leverage against Netanyahu. President Reagan responded firmly against Israel after witnessing the carnage brought on by its bombing of Lebanon. In July 1982, Reagan halted the transfer of cluster munitions to Israel over concerns the weapons were causing too many civilian casualties. The same year, he called Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin and warned him about the U.S. view of the Israel-Lebanon war. He said, and I quote, Menachem, "This is a Holocaust." President Reagan accused the Israeli Prime Minister of doing a Holocaust in Lebanon. Obama's so Obama's so anti-Israel. I also love how I had no clue. In July 1982, Reagan was like, oh, here's what's happening. Israel's getting no more weapons. And they're getting no more weapons because they're causing too many civilian casualties in Lebanon. We just had under Netanyahu. He just recently did, a few years ago now, just a bomb fest, a bomb orgy in Gaza, where he killed minimum 80% civilians. Thousands of people dead. So indiscriminate in the bombing. They bombed the only power plant in Gaza. They bombed hospitals. They bombed schools. Again, over 80% civilian death rate. And what did Obama do? Armed him again. Gave him $38 billion, mostly in military aid, knowing they're going to expand settlements too. So Reagan was like, hey, asshole, you're killing too many civilians in Lebanon. You're getting no more weapons. Obama saw the carnage and went, okay, we're going to do a brief ceasefire here so we can help Israel reload because they ran out of bombs. And people are losing their shit over a resolution at the UN which simply argues, hey, Israel, you have to follow international law. That's it. That's all it says. It's a condemnation of illegal settlements under international law. And that's what they are. Nobody can say, oh, they're not illegal. I mean, the far right in Israel does try to argue that, but it's completely and utterly made up. It's illegal under international law, full stop. So they build these settlements. By the way, I like how I say full stop and then I continue. So they're building these settlements and they're illegal. They're immoral. They're kicking more and more Palestinians off their land. And then they turn around and they go, oh, how dare you say that it is what it is and that it is illegal. And the U.S. just abstained and is totally toothless. All they're doing is wagging their finger. Oh, bad Israel. And the world fucking exploded over this. And when I say the world, I mean in the U.S. People, oh, this is so anti-Israel and wrong. Well, the vote was 14-0. The rest of the world files this under duh. The rest of the world files this under, why don't you do BDS right now? Why don't you support a Palestinian state? Why don't you cut off all of Israel's aid and use it as leverage and say, oh, you want to get aid again? Well, then do a deal for a Palestinian state right now. The rest of the world is like, why are you waiting on this? But now you see how bad it's gotten and how far the spectrum has shifted to the right overall in the U.S., but also specifically on the issue of Israel. When even Ronald Reagan multiple times was like, yeah, hey, asshole, don't do this, don't do that, stop doing this, stop doing that, don't violate international law, don't do that, don't. So you had, 21 resolutions under Reagan, 9 under H.W. Bush, 6 under Bush, 1 under Obama, and everybody acts like, oh, anti-Semite, crazy person. No. I've never seen a clear issue in my life. All we want is for Israel to follow international law, make a peace deal, create a Palestinian state, and get this all officially recognized at the UN. That's it. That's all we want. But we're smeared as anti-Semites and bad people as a result of it. No, we see what's going on here, and the slimy tricks don't work anymore. We see through your nonsense, and the facts are very illuminating.